Hi, everyone. My name is Chris McMurray.
And I'm Gene.
He's my husband. And welcome back to another episode of Hope from Grief here on our YouTube channel. We're an open book. Hope from Grief came about because one of the major subjects of our book, Live, Laugh, Fly,
There it is.
here it is the signs that we received from our son Scott after he passed to show us that he was still with us.
As we told our story here on YouTube, we began to realize there had to be so many stories just like ours out there.
So we reached out on social media asking others to share their stories with our audience, and many responded. So thank you so much.
Yes, thanks a lot. But we'd also like you to know that we read these stories exactly as they come to us because it's your personal experience with your loved one.
So please reach out to us and tell us of the sign that you received from someone you lost so we can share it here on Hope from Grief.
Let me just add this before we get started with today's program. We want to reach as many folks as possible out there. So as we built this channel, telling both your stories and ours, every single subscription is important to us. Please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to us and we'd really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Our primary goal is to help people feel less alone in their grief. We want you to know that our loved ones are still with us. They're guiding us, and they are especially comforting us.
In the last few episodes, we have been sharing stories that were sent to us by our listeners or someone we connected with on social media.
In today's episode, we'll be telling one of our own stories, which we believe was a sign from our son Scott, approximately 6 weeks after he passed away.
That was a time when we were all so very raw with grief.
All I could do at that point was to make it to the front porch and sit with our big, gentle chocolate lab, Lucy. I was numb and in so much shock. The grief waves were coming very strong and very frequent. A lot of times I had to remind myself to breathe, just breathe.
So what we're going to do now is turn to our book, and Chris is going to read a short excerpt, and then we will discuss it when she's done. You ready to go?
I sure am.
Go for it.
All right, this is June 2011. A few weeks after Scott died, I was again on the front porch with Lucy. I looked next to me and saw a bird's nest in one of the house plants. Every spring for 25 years, I have always brought my house plants outside, but this was the very first time a nest had appeared. I was feeling a little excited, probably the first time I had been excited about anything in the last several months. In the following days, the mother robin sat on her 4 eggs. She continued to sit there, even with Lucy and I on the porch. The bird and I had an unspoken agreement. You don't bother me, I won't bother you. Let's just sit here and breathe. So we did. I sat there and watched her sit on her eggs. I watched as 3 beaks peeked up at her. I watched her feed them and teach them to fly. I then watched as they all flew away. When they were gone, I looked in the nest. 1 blue egg remained. I put that egg in the garden. That night, Scott's nurse Cheryl came for dinner. I told her all about the bird's nest. There were 4 eggs, but only 3 hatched, Cheryl asked. I nodded. That's the way it is. There were 4 of you, and now there's 3. I immediately got the connection. Upon closer inspection, I noticed a blue thread running through the nest, which you could say is God, or you can say it's Scott, or you can say it's hope. I believe that it's all 3. So I have God, Scott, and hope. Somehow I knew I'd be all right.
As a matter of fact, everybody, we still have that bird's nest. Why don't you show everybody, Chris?
Yes, we do.
And if you look over right near the top, you can see the blue thread that we were talking about.
That's right.
Here's something I found amazing during this time. Now, Lucy was a great dog,
She was.
but we lived on a busy street, and she barked at everything that went by, and that robin never budged once.
No. And it was a time that I was in so much pain. I isolated a lot. I didn't want any human connection, except for the closest family members. All I wanted to do was sit on my porch, talk to Scott, and pray.
Well, we had just lost our son, It's almost as though the robin understood that.
We seem to have an agreement. Let's not bother each other. Let's coexist and let's just get through this.
All the while, you kept your eye on the robin and she kept her eye on you, making sure that you were both okay.
That's right. I watched as her babies hatched, watched as she fed them and taught them to fly.
Then one day, the nest was abandoned. They were gone. When you looked in the nest, what did you see?
I saw one egg remained in the nest, one blue egg that did not hatch. The mother bird lost one of her babies, just like I had lost one of mine. I felt a connection.
I like to believe that somehow we're all connected.
Mhm.
I know you did some research about the significance of robins showing up in our lives. What did you learn?
Well, according to myths and legends, robins appear once a loved one is newly deceased. Allegedly, the robin is often seen after you encounter a loss of someone you love, who is in the spirit of the deceased person trying to tell you not to worry and that they love you. It's a simple message from heaven that this loved one is watching over you. Robins are also associated with the end of an old phase and the entering of a new one. The robin bird is encouraging you to be brave again.
It's a difficult, almost impossible situation and grief to move on from. Such a devastating loss. So, any encouragement we can find, even if it's from a little bird, is welcome.
Yeah, I like that the idea of becoming brave again, but that takes time. During Scott's illness and after his death, I started to have severe panic attacks and anxiety. And this was something I had never experienced before, and it was so scary. I would have trouble driving alone. A song or the silence would trigger me. I had trouble being in public by myself. I was afraid of running into people. I just wanted to stay home in my own safe place. But I also knew that I had to eventually rejoin life. I knew Scott would want me to. So little by little, I would go out. First walks by myself, then with Jean, or with a trusted friend, then eventually to public places.
And it certainly doesn't all happen at once, but we have to take those first few steps towards a new life. But the scary part is we have no idea what that new life is going to look like.
And this is the true definition of bravery.
And that is where we are going to end this episode. Chris, why don't you tell everybody about the book one more time?
One more time. Live, Laugh, Fly is available on Amazon, and 100% of proceeds will help benefit children's cancer programs.
And remember, we would love to have you subscribe to our station, but also we'd like to hear your comments if we touched you in some way. You can either leave a comment below in the section provided, or
we have a YouTube channel that you could also leave the comment below.
And
we have a Facebook page called We're an Open Book, and you can leave comments there also.
Or you can email us at rememberloveneverdies@gmail.com.
That's right. It's a couple of different ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways. So that's it, folks. We really appreciate you spend a few minutes with us today. And that's a wrap.
But always remember, love never dies.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.